All right, guys, welcome back to Chasing Rings, the podcast. This is episode 12, January 30th, 2021. We got Luke, Joe, Kyle, myself, Victor. We're kind of changing up a little bit today, a little less local, a little more national, but there's not a ton going on in the regular season of hockey or the NBA. So we're going to give you some conversational stuff today. Have a little fun with it. Let's just get into some stuff that has happened. The Chiefs and the Bucks going to the Super Bowl. Congratulations, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. Number 10, baby. He's going for number 7. Patty Mahomes going for number 2. Wild stuff. Guys, if you haven't, we released Road to 55, episode 4. Gave you a ton of insight on how we felt about those games, how we're feeling about the Super Bowl. Make sure you guys check that out. Also, we started our new Bruins show, Black and Gold, baby. Bruins, we love hockey. We're 5-1-1 to start. Had a lot of fun talking about them. Let's jump into the Red Sox, guys. We talked a little bit about it last episode with Chaim Bloom and the Boston fireworks and Tampa Bay fireworks where he was with the Rays and Boston fireworks. They're very different things. I mean, we get the Boston pops, right? 4th of July in Boston. That's how we look at fireworks. I don't know what fireworks are in Tampa, but I'm going to tell you right now, it is not Adam Ottavino. It is not Matt Andres. Those are not Boston fireworks. And this man is going to keep getting criticism. He's going to get it from us. He's going to get it from everyone else in the sports media. Luke, we talked about bullpen depth. We talked about pitching depth. I don't want to be overly critical. Both of these guys seem like they're okay. But are they going to really transform our bullpen by any means?
No, I think it's just basically a trial year, seeing what's going to work. I mean, these aren't major moves. Like you said, it's not a major move at all. They're not no names, but they're somewhat young pitchers who just made debuts recently. So it's really just to see what they look like and what they'll do for us. So it's definitely a trial year, in my opinion. Sort of like we saw with the Patriots.
I kind of look at these guys like the new lip filler craze. You get it. It doesn't look too great at first. Then it looks great for a few months. And then you got to do it again. It's like, why? I don't care. $1 million, $2 million, $5 million. I don't care even about the money. Go and get us some people that are going to help us win. And I don't think they are. So what? It looks like we found another 5th and 6th inning guy, which means we plan on having a bunch of starters that are only going to pitch 4 innings. But Don't worry. We got some very average guys to fill those middle innings when we're down 6-0. Don't worry about it. We got some arms to throw the baseball.
Well, I mean, long relievers are important, but you don't need –
we don't need them.
You shouldn't be using them. You should be using them sparingly. They should be there to either, in those situations when it's a blowout, or injuries happen, God forbid. But I think what was it Keim's doing right now is chewing some gum, throwing at the wall, and seeing which piece sticks.
Yeah, and I don't know how I feel about that, Kyle. There's some rumors, and there has been for probably the last 18 months of people inquiring about Christian Vasquez. Personally, for me, I mean, this dude is so underrated. I think he's one of the best defensive catchers in the league, and his offense just keeps getting better and better and better every single year. I'm a huge fan of Christian Vasquez. We have Kevin Plawecki, which some people, for some reason, kind of like this guy. Are you letting Christian Vasquez go?
No, I love Christian Vasquez, and yeah, like you said, his offense has kind of come alive the last couple of years, but he's really good. He is sort of underrated. I don't know why that is, because there's not many catchers that can hit nowadays, and he plays great defensive catcher too. I feel like whenever the Red Sox do get a well-pitched game, I feel like it's always Vasquez back there, and you kind of think back to days of Varitek when he was with Wakefield and Pedro and Schill. But I don't think there's enough. I don't think you can take a big enough step back at catcher to it wouldn't be worth it. I don't think to get rid of him.
Sorry, I'm looking at 2019, right?
He had a monster year in 2019.
Yeah, he caught 138 games, 133 hits. So he had a hit in every game but 5, hypothetically. 26 doubles, 23 home runs, 72 RBIs with a 276 batting average.
Crazy.
I mean, you can't ask much more than that as a number 8 hitter. Now, we've all agreed in past shows, like Andrew Benintendi and some other guys who had down years last year, we're kind of giving last year a wash. So why would we even consider moving this guy? He's 29, going to be turning 30 years old. He's still got 3 to 5 years of solid catching left in him. I forget who it was. I don't know if it's Tris Sale. I think Tris Sale liked Sandy Leone, but there was a specific pitcher that would only throw to Christian Vasquez. Don't take Vasquez out of the game. I'm only throwing to him. There's a reason for that. You build up that bond with your catcher. When I used to pitch a little bit, I was never a pitcher, like a consistent pitcher. I always wanted, because I wasn't a consistent pitcher, I wanted my specific catcher to catch for me because it was a confidence thing. He knew how I wanted to throw the game, how I wanted to call it. And it's just when your bullpen and your starting rotation has that much confidence in your catcher, once you take that away, I don't see why. Like, you're going to lose that chemistry, and offensively he's producing. Is there any reason, can anyone tell me a reason to let this man go?
Yeah. I think
the oldest of the catchers.
Well, yeah, you made the argument yourself. I mean, he's 30 years old, and he's had, 2 good years. Even if you let's count the COVID year, he hit 276 and 283 as a catcher the last 2 years. Like, he's on the upswing. His offense is improving. You could probably get good value for him right now. So I think that makes him a commodity. So why not see what's around there? But going back to the pitcher relationship, if anyone thinks that a no-hitter or a complete game is only the pitcher, they've never watched baseball. Like, it is a two-man job. It's catcher, pitcher working together to shut down the opponent, and then being picked up by defensive plays. Like, that relationship is so important.
Yeah,
That's a great point.
Yeah, I 110% agree with you. It's funny. You guys, I don't know if Kyle does, but you guys know my cousin Jamie. He tried playing baseball for a couple of years. And one day it was like a terrible team we were playing against. And the coach goes, "Jamie, you're pitching." And he was like, "I've never pitched before." He's like, "It doesn't matter." He's like, "Well, can Vic catch for me?" I'm not a catcher. I'm like, "Sure, I'll throw the pads on." Jamie threw a complete game, 1 run. And he was like, "I'll never pitch to anybody else but Vic." It's like, dude, I'm not playing catcher for you, just to play catcher for you. So that relationship that you have is one of the most underrated relationships. Joe, you've played center in football for many years. That relationship with your quarterback, hearing the snap count, putting it right in his hands, or you know what I mean? Like, that relationship is another one that's underrated like this. We're discrediting Christian Vasquez, and I'm sorry, a 30-year-old catcher who isn't an all-star or hitting that caliber, what are we going to get for him? A 4th-round draft pick, some cash consideration? I mean, what is the point? I don't understand it. And he's one of the best 8 hitters in the league. We're just giving up offensive depth for what? There's nothing that makes sense to me.
That's the thing, is like, for what? You have to look. You have to look, especially as a new GM. Like, you have to look. If you see value in your team that you think might be expiring or at its tipping point, like, you should see what's out there, because you don't know what you can get for him. So I think that is the biggest reason why you would like be a seller for Christian Vasquez, is like, hey, what will you give me for him? Like, why not do that? But I agree. I love Vasquez. I don't want him to leave, but like, I understand it from a business perspective.
Yeah, and I can't tell which way Bloom's going with this. We know Nolan Arenado got traded to the Cardinals yesterday. I mean, there must have been some internal issues in Colorado, and they just knew Arenado was going to opt out eventually or demand a trade or something. But I mean, that's just wild. I mean, he's a former MVP. He's a phenomenal player defensively and offensively. Going to the Cardinals, it's like, that's the stuff I need, but in the rotation. I don't care about our offense is going to do what it does, but get me another pitcher, man. I mean, this is wild. I'm starting to get a little concerned with the Red Sox. I mean, there's only a couple months left in this offseason.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like, there's only a couple. We're expecting a big move, and like, also kind of messed up by saying like there's gonna be fireworks, right? Yeah. So like, that infused expectations, but like, we expect big moves just as fans of the Red Sox in general. Like, that's what we've done for the past few years. So like, not doing that might be beneficial in the long run. We just have to see how it plays out. Like, it's a complete opposite of what we've come accustomed to. So I don't have big expectations for this year based on the moves, but like, it's different from what we've seen. So like, I think that's a positive.
I mean, we did bring in Garrett Richards, so that wasn't a no-name guy, for a starting pitcher, but the Red Sox are pushing in all their chips this year on a bunch of question marks. Like we've talked about it, like Chris Sale, Erod, I'm sure we'll be fine, but who knows with COVID complications, like, you never know. And then Evaldi has never really shown multiple years of being healthy. So Like they have the pitching if it works, but who knows, dude? Chris Sale is my biggest concern. Where it's like I don't know if he can. Is he ever going to be close to what he was?
Listen, Tommy John is sometimes the best thing to happen to people. So I'm not going to rule Chris Sale out because you pitch with pain. A lot of guys pitch with pain on the regular, and there's usually not much you can do until you blow something out. So him blowing out, the ligaments in your elbow is great for him because now they can actually go in and repair it. So it's still a question mark, Kyle, but the trends with Tommy John says that it's a good thing that he's had it. I mean, Evaldi's had it twice, and he's still throwing 100 miles an hour.
So with Chris Sale's work ethic, I mean, if anyone can come back from it, it's him.
Exactly. And now is he going to – we don't need him to be a Cy Young winner. We don't need him to go 20-4 and have a 2.5, but we need him to be a number 1, number 2 in the rotation, and that doesn't need to be top of the line if the bottom 3, 4, 5 are okay. So
we need him as a number 1 for sure. I think,
but not a Cy Young elite guy. If he's 15-7 with a 3.2 ERA, I'm okay with that. If the other guys carry their weight, that's a question mark.
I think Kyle, you brought up Garrett Richards signing. I think that definitely flew under the radar. But the contract that we gave him was 1 year, $10 million. Yankees gave Kluber 1 year, $11 million. Why wouldn't we try that? Why wouldn't we try that one instead? That's what I don't get. That's frustrating to me, especially Kluber was in on the Red Sox. He would have definitely come here. So
he's coming off an injury here though, isn't he?
He is, but
that's okay.
He's the better pitcher.
Yeah. And who's the other kid that's still out there? Trevor Bauer. He's still a free agent. I don't know why even hesitate? If we have the money, why even hesitate? Take some pressure off of Sale, take some pressure off of Eddie Rodriguez, and let's, not rush them back. They can come back in May, June, July, whenever they're ready, and not rush them back, and we're still relevant and we're still competitive.
I wonder if there's something going on. I wonder if there's something we don't know about Trevor Bauer, because that is weird that he hasn't been signed yet. I
don't want to get into politics, but he's an extreme right Republican, and right now extreme right Republicans in sports are kind of getting shunned away. And we're going to talk about that with the Hall of Fame stuff in a little bit. Maybe you're trying to get away from it. The New York Mets, the new owner, Steve Cohen, he's going through some serious political stuff with what happened with the Reddit Wall Street bet stuff that Luke and I are very involved in. He's getting slammed. And actually, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk a little baseball and ownership in general. Robert Kraft, he had his issues, was it 2 years ago now, with the massage parlor. What's his name with the Cowboys had some trouble. Jerry Jones had some trouble potentially with hookers and strippers in the past. A lot of these guys go through stuff. The old Clippers owner, he had his racial things. I know he said something about black guys.
What about New York with Dolan?
With Dolan, exactly. So, we're going through all of this. So this guy right here, he's going to be tied to potentially shorting and screwing in some insider trading. Do you think that the board of governors or the owners of the league should be able to push guys out for ethical stuff? Because none of them have been charged with any crimes. Do you think they should be able to push them out and force them to sell? Because that's basically what happened with the Clippers guy. I can't think of his name. I know Ballmer's the new guy. Do you think that the board of governors should push guys out for ethical reasons or just legal? If you're charged with something, you can't own a team. And I think that's the case anyway. But should ethics come into it and morals?
In 2021, yes. We've seen the world change. The mass opinion matters now more than ever, especially with social media. So yeah, it's any wrong step or any bad publicity is very hard to come back from.
It's career suicide.
Yeah, it's hard to come back from in cancel culture. If you're a dick and you continuously be a dick, and especially on social media, that shit lives forever. And as soon as you make a major mistake, people are going to jump at you. So he already Stephen Cohen already deleted his Twitter. He's trying to do damage.
Deleted it?
Yep, he's doing damage control right now.
So he tweeted something the other day and he was like, wow, no love on this platform today. Well, yeah, bro, like you're screwing hundreds of thousands of people that buy tickets to watch your team and jerseys from your team when you're building up a potentially World Series champion roster and you're turning on your fans just to make yourself some more money. So, I mean, I think it's wild when it comes to ownership. You hold yourself to such a high standard. Now, racial justice issues, LGBTQ stuff, anything like that you touch, I mean, you're done for. And honestly, you should be. You gotta watch the way you talk. When we talk about Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft and those allegations, I mean, if they're not charged with anything, who gives a shit? Move on. That's what money does anyway. So I
think it's a more forgivable offense, right? Like it was sort of prostitution, right? But like, I feel like that's more like commonly acceptable now. Like that
it's
is
legal in multiple states. So
that's like the line is like that's okay. But stealing money from people, or like going against the masses and social issues, like you mentioned, like the black racial matters or like
LGBTQ.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the acronym. Yeah, those matters. Like you can't do that in 2021. It's not acceptable. It's not right. Like you need to don't be political. Just don't be political. Like it's sports. Don't be political. Like if you're an owner of a team, you have this one like amazing position. You have to be careful.
You really do. It's definitely a weird world out there. Let's move on to the Celtics a little bit before we go down that political path too much. As you guys know, we do have Tommy Points. It's our premier Celtics show. We got some great feedback from some of our listeners that we're a little too Celtics heavy, so we started our Tommy Points show. We'll be releasing, was it episode 4, maybe 5 of Tommy Points, maybe even 3. I don't know. They had that gap, so it all feels weird. But we're going to release Tommy Points later this week and talk more about the Celtics. But, guys, they're 10-7. It's been a weird kind of couple of weeks with Tatum missing time, Robert Williams missing time. Kemba just came back. And, I mean, I don't want to get too in-depth. We got the Lakers tonight, guys. If LeBron and AD plays, do we have any chance of beating them?
I think they do. I mean, it's like you said.
Quickly, Kyle, quickly.
Oh, yeah. So I think they need a win like this to wake their ass up because, like, they lost to the Knicks and they lost both games to Philly. So things were looking good. We knew they would struggle without Tatum and Robert Williams with COVID, but yeah, they need to pick me up. So I hope they do play because a win over the Lakers without LeBron or AD like that. That's not really
nothing. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, I agree with you. I hope they play too, Kyle.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, the one thing we've seen since Brad Stevens has came in, going back to like the Isaiah Thomas era, is he finds a way to motivate them in big games, and they typically play up to their competition, which they always also play down to their competition. Like Kyle just said, I mean, we lose like the Pistons and the Knicks, but we always play well against the better teams, like the Lakers. I remember Sunday basketball against the Lakers last year, and it was one of the best games I ever watched. Or like the Rockets a couple years ago with the James Harden charges. Like we always play up and step up. Joe, you have any optimism about this game tonight against the Lakers?
I could see them playing up for sure. I could see them making it a game, like a sort of a 5-point game, and then the Lakers
run away with it.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I feel. I think what we're gonna see is our biggest harp that we've talked about all year is the depth. I mean, the guys coming off their bench compared to our bench that's a starting lineup, and we have guys in college basketball. It's just, I think that's gonna be our biggest downfall. But let's not talk too much about that. I got the Lakers winning tonight. Luke, you got the Lakers winning. Joe, you got the Lakers winning. Kyle,
I'll go Celtics.
Celtics winning, just to be opposite. I like your style, kid. Let's move on to the NFL, guys. A lot of, there's only 2 teams left, right? Survivor pool. There's 2 teams left. So things are starting to come out of the woodworks a little bit. Some guys aren't too happy with how their season ended. Teams aren't happy with their season ended. Coaches aren't happy with their quarterbacks' performances. Quarterbacks aren't happy with their coaches' performances. A lot of rumors, guys. Okay, a lot of potential moves. Deshaun Watson this week came out officially saying he demanded a trade, and he requested it politely a few weeks ago. Okay, so requesting it politely a few weeks ago sounds like, hey, Nick Caserio, thanks for coming to Houston, but I don't want to play here anymore. Can you please trade me? Okay, sounds reasonable. Caserio calls the bluff, and now Watson goes public, and he says, hey, I want out of Houston. I'm ready to go. I want to ask you guys, what is your prediction with Deshaun Watson? Now, let's remember Nick Caserio said, I came here to manage a team with Deshaun Watson. The new coach from the Ravens offensive coordinator came here saying, I am planning to coach Deshaun Watson. It seems like they're calling his bluff, or they're trying to raise the price tag. I would guess they're trying to raise the price tag by kind of holding firm. No, we're not trading Deshaun Watson, not for the 15th overall pick to the Patriots. But you want to call me with number 1 and someone else, maybe we'll talk. I think they're trying to raise the price tag. Joe, if Deshaun Watson is moved, do you have a prediction of where he's going?
He either goes to the place that he wants to go to, or the place that management wants him to go to. Right. So, in my opinion, I think he said he wanted to go to the Jets. So if they can work out a deal with the Jets, they will. The Jets had a shitty year, right? So they have high picks. Or they could turn around and go to the Jags and swap that first round pick, that first overall pick, for him. The question is Deshaun Watson worth that first overall pick? Is he actually worth that pick? Ask yourself that question. With Trevor Lawrence and the draft that there is.
Yeah, so, I mean, just to answer your question directly, Joe, I mean, absolutely not. Trevor Lawrence is the most talented and highly scouted quarterback. He would have gone number 1 last year, and Joe Burrow would have went number 2, and that changes the whole dynamic of the league. So, I mean, for me, there's no way you take you give up Trevor Lawrence for Deshaun Watson, who is fun to watch and make some big plays, but he's not proven by any means. He's not putting anyone on his back. He's had some weapons, and Luke and I are higher on him than some people. We're higher on Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller than some people. But Deshaun Watson is not worth a number 1 pick.
Luke, what do you think?
I really do. Like, you saw what he did with weapons with Hopkins. Like, he's had Hopkins. He's been successful with Hopkins. I think he's definitely a franchise quarterback, and I think that he can lead a team to a Super Bowl. I think he needs a better offensive line. They tried to infuse some life into the offense with the running game with David Johnson trade, which, I mean, David Johnson played well for them. So I think if he goes to a franchise that will build around him, absolutely.
Do you have a prediction, Luke?
I really don't. Like, I mean, as of right now, Houston's in a standoff with him. Like, based on the reports that came out the last 24 hours, they say they're not trading him. The head coach said he came there to coach Deshaun Watson. Caserio went there, expecting Deshaun Watson and building around him. So, like, I really don't know what's going to happen. I would be very interested to see him go to the Jets. Or like,
that works, dude. Like, if they get Darnold in return plus a pick that they can spend somewhere else.
Yeah, so the Jets do have like 20. Yeah, they have the second and I think the 23rd or 24th as well. So they have some potential there. Now, I'll go right off of you, Luke. I have him going to the Dolphins, and I think everything makes sense. You flip-flop Tua. So you're going to remove like $25 to $28 million in cap space by getting Tua.
You get like your first-round pick back that you traded them.
You get your first-round pick back. Yeah. They're going to give up number 3 as well. So you're going to go into a rebuild mode. J.J. Watt is not J.J. Watt anymore. I know we talked about him a little bit yesterday.
He's not going to play in the Texans, though.
Most likely not, right? So the Texans have to do a little bit of rebuild. So I'm going to say right now they get Tua, who's a potentially going to be a decent quarterback. We really don't know yet. He had some flashes last year and in and out. I didn't like that. But I think they're going to get Tua. They're going to get number 3 overall. It's going to be for Watson in a future pick. So right away, the Texans are going to get Devontae Smith and Tua, who played together anyway. And now you're going to put that with Will Fuller and Brandon Cooks. I know Brandon Cooks, rumors that he wants out. He wants to be the number 1 somewhere. But potentially if he stays. And you had the other guy that you loved as well from the Texans, Luke. I can't remember his name. Cootie, or however you say it. So,
Cootie?
Yeah. So it makes so much sense because the Dolphins are 10-6. They didn't make the playoffs, right? They just missed the playoffs. Missed it, 10-6. Now you get a legitimate upgraded quarterback
with that defense.
That's why I don't think Nick Caserio will do it, because Nick Caserio knows what he's doing. He's one of the best. He was one of the best in the league. Still is.
That's
a step back. It's definitely a step back for the Texans.
100%. But if you get Devontae Smith with Tua to grow together, you're creating a potential dynasty in 3, 4, 5 years. And I know it's all hypothetical. Devontae's 111 pounds at 6 feet tall. We have no idea if he'll even last in the NFL. But the reality is that he's the most dominant receiver we've seen probably since DeAndre Hopkins, Michael Thomas coming out of college. And I don't know. I see that working. Kyle, do you have someone for Deshaun Watson? Where do you think he's going?
I haven't gone to the Jets. I just think it's too much of a downgrade for Houston if they swap with Miami, because I'm just not a big guy. I'm not a big believer in Tua. So
hold on. So this is the second person to say Sam Darnold is worth it for Watson. In what world?
No.
No. Darnold is worth it. Trading
with
Watson,
number 2.
With 2. Yeah.
So, okay, so all right. So
a high pick is definitely worth it.
So a question for both of you. If you get Sam Darnold, are you drafting Justin Fields number 2 as well?
No.
No.
You would go.
So
you would either go Smith, because Lawrence is going 1, right? So you would go Smith or whatever else the Jets.
It's like then what,
the Jets have some holes.
Darnold? Trade him off somewhere else.
Or excuse me, the Texans.
What's the point of trading Watson really? If you're going to get Darnold in the other pick, if you really just wanted a better quarterback, you would just go for that first. Yeah,
the value that you'd get from the Dolphins is much higher. Like, you get your picks back. Like, you've royally screwed yourself. You have only a third. Your first pick this year is a 3rd round pick. You need draft picks first of all. Like, that's step 1. Step 2 is you need a franchise quarterback. Now you get a high pick with the Dolphins. You also get a potentially franchise QB in Tua. We did see flashes that Tua could be a player in the NFL. I think I forget what game it is, but it might have been against Kansas City. Like, he had like 336 passing yards, like 3 touchdowns or something. He ran for 50 yards, something like that. Like, he
battled with Kyler Murray too in that game. I mean, I think he's going to be an NFL quarterback. I really do.
Got thrown into an impossible position. Like, it was Fitzy's team. That team was winning with Fitzy, and then they hit a liberal up that and they completely flipped the script.
It's definitely a gamble.
Yeah.
So I just think Darnold is the better player, honestly.
Wow. I'd
have to see more from both, especially Tua. But I'd like to see Darnold under a better coach, ownership, and I'd like to see more games from Tua.
Yeah, I'm not.
Tua was benched like multiple games for fit. Like, he almost.
Yeah, but that was some bullshit. Like, Flores benched him that game that he was playing well, and he threw like 2 picks, and then he benched him, which is terrible to do to your new quarterback for confidence anyway. So that was a rookie move on Flores' part, in my opinion.
So one mock draft I'm looking at right now actually has the Texans trading with the Jets to get number 2, and they take Zach Wilson at BYU. Zach Wilson's on everyone's radar to go number 2. Looks like Fields is dropping to like 6 or 7. So whatever, Zach Wilson. But I don't understand the point. You're going to flip-flop quarterbacks and then draft another quarterback and create quarterback competition. Why? Like, Tua has the potential already with there's no downside of Tua yet. Sam Darnold has downside. I mean, he saw ghosts or whatever, and he's had 5 games here and 5 games there and 5 games there, and it's never been great. So I don't understand giving up a franchise quarterback for him. But let's move on to the next one who demanded a trade. Or sorry, they amicably decided to move on. Matt Stafford, borderline Hall of Famer. I mean, he was throwing to Calvin Johnson, one of the most dominant wide receivers we've ever seen play the game. Guys, I mean, I'll give you mine. I see him going to San Francisco. I think San Fran wants to upgrade. I think they're going to send draft picks and keep Jimmy. And we'll talk about Jimmy after. I think Jimmy gets flipped later on. But I think that it's going to be for draft compensation, maybe something else. Maybe they give up one of their running backs, add to DeAndre Swift. I don't care what the players are, but I think it's going to be draft compensation to get Matt Stafford off. And then they find their quarterback later on, whether it's through the draft or whatever. I don't care. But they're going to move on from Matt Stafford. I see them going into a rebuild. They're going to have some contract issues with their receivers anyway. I see the Lions – sorry. I see the Lions continuing their rebuild for the last 50 years and doing nothing. But they're going to get rid of Stafford's big contract, and I think he's going to San Fran. And San Fran instantly becomes a Super Bowl contender in the NFC.
Wow. I mean,
anyone,
that San Francisco defense is legit. So
they
yeah,
got a lot of weapons on offense too.
yeah, Stafford hasn't really had a defense behind him. They've had to average 40 points a game for the last 10 years. They also would have a running game. I really like that take. Honestly, the thing that makes sense to me, if we go back to, is the Jets. Like, why wouldn't, instead of, like, you could trade the pick to the Lions and just get a franchise QB, and with their receiving core already, like, you don't have to do much to infuse that offense. Like, Matt Stafford has his receivers. You'd need to get a running back, and you'd need to shore up the defense. Like, you could jump with that trade right away.
And then the Lions say Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, whatever their cup of coffee is. But, that I think that's a good move too. I don't know why. It's an instinct. I think San Fran wants to win now. I think they have their coach, they have their GM, they have a ton of offensive weapons, Kittle, the receivers, the running backs.
Mm-hmm.
I think they want to win now, and I think they're going to be in play for Stafford, Rodgers, and I don't see Wentz or Goff going to San Fran, because that's kind of, you're not really moving up from Jimmy with them. I mean, a little bit in my opinion, but
I think Wentz would definitely be an upgrade. In my opinion.
I think Goff would be a little bit too, but Rodgers and Stafford is a different level than them. Anyone have a take where Stafford might be going?
I think he could go to potentially the Rams or the Colts.
The Colts is another good one.
Yeah.
Colts are sneaky good team. The Rams, just based on what I heard, it sounds like that they're talking right now. The Rams don't have a first-round pick though, so they'd have to use like a second, and they'd have
some futures maybe. Yeah,
they have to do something with the cap, but realistically, I'd like to see Stafford on the Colts.
The Colts is a good one because they already have their future running back, or they're pretty confident, at least with the duo of Taylor and Hines.
Too.
Yeah. So you got Taylor and Hines, and then on the outside, you got T.Y. Hilton, who had a great second half of the season, plus Michael Pittman, another future wide receiver, Mo Alley Cox. I mean, there's weapons there. In 1 year with Rivers, they were 11-5 and in the playoffs. Yeah. So I agree. It's a really good take, Joe. I like Stafford going there. I don't know what they have to give up. I'd have to look at it, but that's a really, really good take. Kyle, do you have somewhere for Stafford to go?
Yeah, I mean, we're forgetting about the Patriots, right? Where it's like the Patriots, I mean, we need a quarterback. And it's interesting because, like, we'll get to it, but, like, I think Rodgers is done in Green Bay. Like, I think he's out. I think he's like, I'm done with this. Similar to Watson, where, like, I think no matter what the Texans say, Deshaun Watson is gone. Like, because I think he just – similar like James Harden. We all knew James Harden was getting traded. Like, we didn't know when or where. But, like, we knew, like, the time had come, like, to split. It sounds like the Stafford thing is a little more mutual, which is good for him. I looked it up. Matthew Stafford's only 32 years old. I thought he was, like, 38 because he's been in the league since 2009. But, like, we forget that he's really – I mean, not everyone's Brady, so not everyone's going to play till their mid-40s. But, like, 32
isn't – It will cost the Rams – like about $22 million to trade Goff.
It's sort of like they're in the same position as the Eagles with Wentz.
Yeah, but I think the Colts is the best pick because we saw what Rivers did last year. Like, that team is already built to win, so they just need a quarterback. But if he doesn't come to the Pats, or if the Pats, I think in a dream world the Pats get Rodgers, that would be incredible. I think we'd all agree. That's kind of the pipe dream, but we'll see. But if not, then I would say Stafford is a great second option.
So, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay. I don't know where this is coming from.
All right, we'll get to that next. I got one question for Stafford. So the Colts have 21st overall. Do you do that, and is it worth it? Is it enough compensation? Like, is that a fair deal, the 21st overall pick for Stafford if you're the Colts? For me, I say yes, because they already have the foundation. They need the quarterback for the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, 21. And I also think for the Lions on the opposite side, 21 is pretty good because you're going to clear a $30 million quarterback off your roster, and you're going to move on. You're going to rebuild. I think you can't go too high. I mean, Stafford isn't – I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but he's never won. I mean –
yeah, he's a Romo. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not necessarily the guy I want in the crunch time, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah,
he's playing 3 wild card games, and he's lost all 3 of them. So.
And it's hard because it's the Lions. It's like, how much pressure can you put on one guy? So do you guys think 21 is a fair trade? I mean, I do personally.
I think if you do 21 and get like you just sign, I don't know, a quarterback for a 1-year deal and then play to lose that year and get another
100%.
like top 10 pick the next year, then yes, it is worth it. But if you get 21 and then hold the line and try to win, like try to be somewhat successful or average now, it's going to backfire. Like you need to
that middle of the pack stuff.
If the Lions are looking to trade for the value they have in Stafford now, then in my opinion, 21 definitely doesn't cut it because obviously, but if they're looking to rebuild, then sure. But I don't know what their ideal, I don't know what they're trying to do.
It's chess versus checkers, really. Like, what do they want to do? Do they want to like bide their time and build something like the chess aspect and sort of be strategic over the next 3 years? Do they have that much time, knowing how poor this franchise has played for their fans, or do they just go after it?
So the one thing with the Lions is their new coach. It's Dan Campbell, right? So he said he's been very, very vocal. He's been saying, my team is going to fight. We're going to kill. We're going to attack.
He's a maniac.
It really backfired for him when he took over in Miami, man.
Yeah, it's going to do the same thing here.
Yeah, so I don't think they're going to go full rebuild mode. Sorry, I don't think they're going to go win mode now. I think they're going to have to go rebuild because that just seems a little too crazy. But let's move on to – probably not, which will be good for them. Let's move on to Aaron Rodgers, guys. So I agree with Luke. There's no reports that he's requesting a trade. We're just basing off of the after-game reactions. It wasn't my call. The call was made. It wasn't my decision, right? And he even mentioned something about his future, and a lot of guys' futures are questioned, right? I would guess.
He said my future is uncertain.
Yeah, like a lot of guys, he said. So knowing that how upset they were that he moved up for Jordan Love, how it ended up trickling down with Jimmy and Tom Brady, I think that Rodgers will ultimately demand a trade. And there's just too many factors that play into this between trading up for Jordan Love instead of taking Justin Jefferson or whatever. Like instead of taking a top receiver and getting him more help, they traded up for a backup quarterback. And then Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP. And during the MVP race, they kick a field goal instead of going for a touchdown on 4th and 8 on the goal line. I just think there's been too many jabs thrown at this man to not throw a haymaker back. And I think it's his time. He's going to demand a trade. But I think ultimately they sit down, have a conversation, and they somehow find more weapons. There's a million free agents this year. I think Aaron Rodgers stays with the Packers. I think he's going to demand a trade. I think it's going to come out that he's unhappy, but I think LaFleur repairs the relationship. So I know I'm trying to cross in both lines here, but I think it's going to hit the fan, and then they're going to fix the relationship by signing some wide receivers.
Question for you, Vic.
No, go ahead.
How many times are you going to go to the well and come up dry before you realize, like, man, I mean, you said more weapons. They were loaded this year. Like, there was no excuse that they –
They were not.
I'm
sorry.
Was
their number 2.
Yeah, listen, Lazard and Scantling did their job this year, but they're not Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown. Yeah. And I'm sorry, if those two were playing with Sam Darnold, we wouldn't even know their name. You know what I mean? So
but that's more on Sam Darnold. I mean,
exactly. Aaron Rodgers made those guys to be decent names and big names. I mean, there's a million guys in the league that can do what John Brown and Marquez Valdez-Scantling do and burn people for 60 yards and get open. But there's only a handful of guys that can hit that pass consistently like Rodgers did this year. 48 touchdowns, I believe it was, right? 48?
Well, that's what I'm saying. How much better is he going to get? I mean, if you can't win when you're throwing 48 TDs in the regular season, then like what? So
if you're an elite quarterback and you win an MVP, you want your franchise to trade up to draft a backup quarterback in the first round?
No, of course not. But I mean, if
what do you want? I mean, you're 30. What did we say he was? 38 years old. You want more weapons. You want to make a last run. Look at what the Bucs did. They went and got Tom Brady, and they said, "We're gonna get you Gronk. We're gonna get you Fournette. We're gonna get you Antonio Brown. We're all fucking in to win." That's what the Packers need to do, and I think they finally realized Rodgers still has plenty left in the tank, and they're gonna get more weapons.
Yeah. I agree with that. I agree that they're going to get more weapons, but he's not going to demand a trade. He was frustrated after the game. He got to his fifth NFC Championship or fourth NFC Championship game, and they lost, and it was on a questionable coaching call. And he also should have been frustrated with himself on that third down that led to the fourth down where they kicked the field goal. So like it was just frustration. It's after game frustration. They had one of the best offenses in the league. They're one of the best teams in the league. He was the MVP this year, right? Like
yeah.
It's unreal the year they had, and they came up 8 yards short maybe. So it's just after game frustration. Everyone's blowing this way out of proportion. It'll blow
It's a
over.
fair point. It's a fair point.
They're coming up short for 10. They've been coming up short for 10 years.
They're
I disagree.
Go ahead.
In
Joe.
fact, I saw him several times this week. How specifically several people said it's not just after game frustrations. I think that this happens too frequently, and it's similar to the Brady thing where like you keep pushing me, and I know I keep saying I'm gonna move, and I haven't, but I might one day, and he did. I know it was a little different than this, but same with Rodgers. He's what we say he's 38.
Yeah.
It's like, you keep drafting underneath me, and you keep, the writing's been on the wall for a while. It's like, you think I won't, but if I get the right offer, if John Elway calls me and makes me the right offer, like I might do it, with that young team. Like anything can happen, man. Don't push somebody,
Now,
no one thought Brady was going to leave until he left. I remember because like everyone I talked to, right? I talked to my brother, talked to everyone. Oh, Brady's not going to leave. He's been in the system for 20 years. There's no chance. And then the reports came out. Oh, well, in 2018, Brady was starting to get pissed. Oh, 2019, Brady was starting to get pissed. It's like same thing with Aaron Rodgers, dude. Like he's getting
just
pissed off.
because I like guys going to other teams. I like seeing them.
So, does anyone have Rodgers leaving, and where do they predict him going?
Yeah, he's gone for sure. I mean, obviously, Patriots would be the pipe dream. Like, how they can make that work, I don't know. Obviously, the 15th pick is not enough to do that.
He could go anywhere. You go to the Broncos, the Niners, the Patriots, the Colts.
I mean, if you're Rodgers, you want to do a Tom Brady situation. You want to go to a team that
needed a quarterback.
Is that the Colts? Like, is that who is that? Is that Miami? You know what I mean? Like, what team is Super Bowl ready right now that just lacks a quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is you're not going to quarterback swap. So that's because you're going to start Jordan Love. That's why you moved up to draft him. So it's kind of that San Fran situation that I talked about with Matt Stafford. San Fran gets him for whatever it is, and then they move Jimmy. Let's talk about Jimmy. We'll just jump over a couple of guys. They move Jimmy to the Patriots. So they get draft compensation from the Patriots. They get Aaron Rodgers. They move some stuff around. And I'm sorry. I mean, that makes San Fran in Tampa Bay right back. It's Aaron Rodgers and Brady again next year, 100%. Which I think it would be anyway if he stays with the Packers. But, so let's jump to Jimmy G. I have him coming to the Patriots. I think it's who Bill wants. I think it's a realistic thing. I think we can get him for a fairly cheap, basically just swap back. I think we traded we got a second back for him or a third. I think we basically just make that swap again, and he fits right back into the Tom Brady system. I just don't know if it gets us over the hump to eliteness. Do you guys see Jimmy G moving, and where is he going?
I think he goes to the Texans. Nick Caserio loves him. He was there when we drafted him, and he's a decent quarterback for a rebuilding team there,
Now you started that with good, Joe. Is he a good quarterback?
He's an average quarterback. Yep.
You think that one Super Bowl he made is going to be the only one he makes?
No.
It depends on which team he goes to, because like Brady can make other teammates around him better. Other teammates could possibly make him better, maybe.
Okay.
He might not be the sidecar. He might be the actual.
He might be passenger seat, Jimmy.
Passenger seat. Yeah.
Did you guys know that Jimmy G has made as many Super Bowls as Aaron Rodgers has made?
It's true. That is true.
He hasn't won as many.
Is that how you would say that they're equal? Is that what you're saying? You're saying that Rodgers and Jimmy are equal?
No, of course not.
Okay.
But I think Jimmy's value is lower now because he's been injured a lot, which is a concern. But I mean, Bill loves Jimmy. Like I don't know what it is, but there's a lot to like, when he's healthy. But like he absolutely adores Jimmy for whatever reason. And obviously he saw him a lot in practice when he was here. And like learning from Brady, I think was big. I mean, the Patriots need a quarterback, so that's why like for all these guys, I'm kind of like, come to the Patriots. Like I'll take
Just
Stafford.
worry
I'll take
about his
Watson.
health, man. He's always injured. Always.
Yeah.
I know his
Yeah.
If he
injuries are
wasn't
concerned.
always injured, I would definitely have a little bit of a different theory on it.
I mean, if he wasn't always injured, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? Like, it would be a completely different
True.
conversation. I think the only reason we're having this conversation is because Jimmy hasn't really been on the field.
Exactly. And I
He
mean,
was on the field in that fourth quarter of the Super Bowl.
That's true.
was he though? Was he?
Yeah.
So I have Jimmy coming to the Patriots personally. Another one that we're just hypothetically speaking off of some news headlines. There's no real reports of him being moved. Jared Goff. Sean McVay said that after they lost, who did they lose to? The Packers, right? After they lost to the Packers, he said, we're in evaluation mode now, and we're going to evaluate every position, and no one's guaranteed a job next year. I found that a little alarming. I'm a huge Jared Goff guy. I think he plays very smart. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I don't think he's an elite quarterback, but I think he's like a Tom Brady potential of the early 2000s, where he's just a system guy, does his job, likes the moment. I think he's played well in big games. He's never really played bad in big games. And he doesn't make he
played very well in that Green Bay game still.
Yeah, he doesn't make a lot of mistakes, and I really like that. Like, Tom Brady's been known for minimizing his mistakes and making the right plays and making the right reads, and then Tom Brady slowly became like an elite scorer and elite passer when he got more weapons. But the 01 to 05 Brady was not an elite Brady. It was like, a system Brady. And I don't care what anyone says. We can argue that he did his job. He wasn't elite. And I think that's what Jared Goff has been. And I would really like to see Jared Goff on the Patriots. But ultimately, I think he stays. I don't see anything that makes sense to move. I think it's like 26. Why move that quarterback? It doesn't make sense to me. I think he's not even at his ceiling yet. Keep getting him more pieces. Cooper Kupp didn't play that game. I just, for me, keep him where he is. Anyone got to take on Jared Goff? Is he staying? Is he moving?
No, the Rams are it seems like they're very interested in Stafford. And the more interested in Stafford they are, the more Goff won't be there. It's possible they do a swap plus a pick. Goff to the Lions, Stafford to the Rams.
Yeah, the Rams need, Stafford is definitely an upgrade from Goff for the
But
offense.
they're stuck in neutral.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
There's still there's still a Super Bowl, that defense is a Super Bowl contender. Like, we saw that when they took down Seattle in the Wild. Like, that defense is built for the Super Bowl. If they have Stafford gives them an influx of offense, I think he can, with that receiving core too, Stafford is complete upgrade in my opinion. Kyle, obviously you disagree.
Yeah, I just think Goff is like Vic said, he hasn't hit his ceiling yet. He's not the guy that's going to throw for 400 yards a game, but he can do that. I think he's had a couple big games. I just think he's so young, and I think the Rams are idiotic if they don't lock him up. He's only 3 or 4 years into his career.
Yeah, I mean, looking at Jared Goff, so 2017 was his first year starting. He started 15 games, 3,800 yards, 4,700 yards, 4,600 yards, just under 4,000 this year. 28, 32, 22, 20 in touchdowns. Now, 22 and 20 isn't phenomenal, but 28 and 32, his interception high is 16. That was 2019, so that's not great. But, I mean, his stats have always been pretty good. And, I mean, let's be honest, guys. Robert Woods is not an elite number one. He's a good number one, don't get me wrong, but he's not an elite number one. Cooper Kupp is a good number two, but not an elite number two. I mean, we're not talking about Mike Evans and Godwin or – they're just – that duo is good, not phenomenal. So
yeah, it offsets itself. The receivers aren't great, but I don't think Goff is great. I think they overpaid for Goff. I think they really like Walford, the backup. He played pretty well. And both the what's his name, Les Snead and McVay, both of them said that they couldn't commit to Goff as their starting quarterback for 2021. I don't care who you are. Your team goes to the playoffs, wins a playoff game. There's no draft yet. Any team saying the starting quarterback is your starting quarterback at that moment, right? So, the Patriots, if they had asked Bill Belichick who your starting quarterback next season, he's gonna be like, Cam Newton's our quarterback right now, right? So one of those one of those two guys, they couldn't commit to Goff being their starter.
So why leave that like question mark open ended?
Yeah, seems
So,
odd to me.
and that's what caught my eyes, and that's why I brought him up today. I do think he ultimately stays. Kyle, do you think Jared Goff is moving or staying?
No, I think he stays.
Yeah, Luke?
I also think he stays. I think that maybe they make a change at OC though.
Okay. It's do they still have Sarkisian? Is that who it was?
Maybe.
I can't remember off the top of my head. So two more guys. Carson Wentz. I mean, for me, this is a no-brainer that they have to move him. I don't care if they have to eat money, give someone a blowjob. I don't care what it takes. You cannot have a divided locker room with a new coach. Carson Wentz has been a good quarterback. I don't care what anyone says. Statistically, he's been a good quarterback. He's had some injuries, and he's had some bad stretches in football. But he's 4 or 5 years into the league. But Jalen Hurts came out ready to prove the world that Alabama should have never benched him. They should have never let him go to Oklahoma. He should never have fallen to the third round. Jalen Hurts is ready to show the world how good of a quarterback he is. He did it over 6, 7, 8 games last year. Jalen Hurts will start for the Eagles next year, and I'm telling you right now, you do not want a divided locker room with 2 franchise potential quarterbacks and a brand new coach. It just does not make sense. I think he has to move. I have Carson Wentz personally. He's going to the New York Jets. They're going to trade that number 2 pick and a 5th rounder. So Sam Darnold is not involved. Carson Wentz and Darnold will be the 1 and 2. Darnold potentially gets traded. He becomes the backup, whatever it is. Carson Wentz will start for the Jets this year. Number 2 becomes Devontae Smith. So now the Eagles get a legit receiver with Jalen Hurts, former teammates. It makes so much sense to me. That's where I have Carson Wentz going, and that's what I think is going to happen.
Interesting.
Luke likes that one. Luke doesn't agree with me often. He's like, okay, that actually adds up.
I like that. I just think for the Eagles, they need to blow it up. I think the locker room dissension is cancerous to any team, any professional sports team. So I think they need to blow it up. I think they need to roll with Fields. I think they need to roll with the young receivers. I think they need to trade Alshon. I think they need to blow up the defense. I think they need to trade Carson Wentz and then just rebuild the next 3 years, because they're in one of the worst divisions in football.
The worst for sure.
Yeah, and then they have they have a very good defense, but that's like leftover defense from their Super Bowl victory. Like, they're on the decline. They're not going to be back to the Super Bowl next year.
Who?
The
Philly.
Eagles. But hold on.
No.
So Greg Ward is a decent receiver. Jalen Reagor, however you say it, is a decent receiver. Deshaun Jackson obviously isn't healthy. Alshon Jeffrey obviously isn't healthy. They have Goddard, however the hell you say it, Miles Sanders, and Boston Scott. Their offensive line is okay. Vince Papale. I don't know why you're saying blow it up, Luke. I think you have your starting quarterback next year. You move forward with a new scheme. You brought in an offensive coach from the Colts, Nick Sirianni. Get another elite receiver. You have a decent defense with a somewhat decent offense. Jalen Hurts made that offense go. So now you add Devontae Smith to it. I think that team wins the East next year if they add Devontae Smith and start with Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
new locker room chemistry. They win the NFC East.
How do you get that back if there's was argument this year about who the quarterback is, and you have people saying Carson's my quarterback, and then you get rid of him? Like, you need to get rid of those other players. Like, they could buy in, but I just don't think it's.
I mean, the older guys, who cares? You bench him, you cut. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey should be cut. He should be a free agent. I mean, who cares about him? Deshaun Jackson, smell you later. You're 33 years old. You haven't caught a touchdown in like 10 years. Go ahead, Joe.
What I think is, it all comes down to the Lions, in my opinion. There's like a handful of teams that are all interested in the same guys. So Stafford is out in the Lions. He's not. He's out. Right?
They already agreed to it. He's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Lions just got their new coach, Dan Campbell. Right. As trash as he may be, they're not going to wait 2 years to rebuild. They're going out to get somebody who can play now. Cam Newton, Deshaun Watson, Jimmy Garoppolo, or someone like Carson Wentz. I think that when the Lions make a move, we see all the other puzzles, pieces of the puzzle, start to come into play. It is a possibility that Carson Wentz comes to the Patriots, Belichick isn't interested in having another losing season. And, anything could happen. So Patriots, Bears, Niners, maybe Lions.
Okay.
I think Detroit would be interesting for Carson. I would take Carson Wentz on the Patriots. I would take
100%.
Stafford.
Yeah, I'd love to have him.
I'm hesitant for Carson's career for him to go to the Lions.
One thing the Eagles complained about, though, was that they said Peterson gave Carson Wentz too much leeway in the locker room to sort of do his thing. That definitely wouldn't happen here. So I'd like to see that change, with Belichick, with making him toe the line and bringing out the talent.
Interesting.
It would happen in Detroit, though, probably. I agree with Luke. I would feel bad for Carson Wentz because I think he needs a fresh start. And I think there's a lot of talent there. And I think he can be like a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the league if he's got the right system. But if he went from Philly to Detroit, dude, I would feel so bad for him because it's like you're going from one trash franchise to another trash franchise. You're just going to a worse
trash franchise. Don't say not a trash franchise. The Eagles aren't a trash franchise.
They won
with the scam. Okay, the fraud. They won with the fraud. They got lucky because Bill Belichick wanted to bench Malcolm Butler.
The Eagles to win is invincible. So.
No, I mean, I don't think the Eagles are a bad franchise. I mean, they went to 4 NFC championships. They lost to us, and I'll never call a Super Bowl win lucky, but Terrell Owens had 200 yards on a broken leg. So, I mean, they're definitely not a loser franchise, but they have these ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and it seems like they lose the locker room way too often. And Doug Peterson is a moron. I mean, him and Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl might be the worst coach-quarterback combo to ever win a Super Bowl. And shame on Thomas Brady for letting it happen. But all right, let's move on
for 500 yards in that Super Bowl. So
I know. I'm just kidding. But let's move on. We got one last guy Luke wants to bring up, Tyrod Taylor. the lung puncture that happened with the Chargers. He was winning with them. He was winning with the Bills in the past. Do you guys think that he's going to start in the league this year, and who could it be with?
Yeah, he should start. I mean, I was telling you guys earlier, but I had a conversation this morning about the history of Tyrod Taylor in the NFL. And he was winning with the Bills, and he got replaced by Josh Allen. He was winning with the Browns, and he got replaced by Baker. He was winning with the Chargers to start the year, and then obviously the lung puncher happened, and Justin Herbert came in, and that's Herbert's team now. Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback whisperer. You get Tyrod for 1 year, you get your franchise quarterback after. That's just how the NFL works. I don't know what it is, but Tyrod Taylor breeds future quarterback success. That being said, I think he's going to be the starter for Detroit. I think that gives him the ability to be a starting quarterback in the NFL for the next, 3 years. Who knows?
Yeah. I have an interesting take on it. I think that Tyrod Taylor is, like you said, Luke, he's unique. He's either, in my opinion, right now, he's either a backup, the second backup, or a starter on a team like the Patriots. I could see the Patriots going after him, making him a starter, or I could see him backing up Ryan Tannehill, Lamar Jackson, someone like that until, they see him back in action, ready to go.
He just screams a Jets quarterback to me. I don't know why. If the Jets still made a big move, I just see him competing with whoever to be the starter with the Jets. I don't know why. I just see that happening.
Listen, Tyrod's going to be the next journeyman in the NFL. He is going to be Fitzy. He's going to be consistent.
Josh McCown.
He's already consistent, man. Tyrod deserves a start. Last year was a terrible break for him. That's unheard of. That's unheard of, though.
I know.
Can you just had a bad string of luck.
One team that stands out to me, and I don't know if he would be an upgrade over, because they're going to have a weird quarterback room, is the Washington football team. And I think it makes a lot of sense to bring him in. I mean, Alex Smith is not going to be a playoff winning quarterback. I think it's a great story, but you got to move on from him. And the kid who just played Heineke, I mean, is he the real deal, or was it kind of beginner's luck? I don't know, but I think adding Tyrod Taylor to that quarterback room makes a lot of sense. Having a three-way competition, carrying 3 quarterbacks. Tyrod is a decent starter now. Alex Smith is your security blanket, and Taylor Heineke is let's keep developing you because there's some potential there, but you're not ready to lead a playoff team. That's why I like Tyrod going there. I think it makes a lot of sense. it doesn't hurt to carry 3 quarterbacks anymore. It really doesn't.
Yeah, I disagree though.
Geno
I think
Smith is a free agent.
I think Heineke's going to be the next up and comer.
Why?
I'm going to buy his jersey right now.
Because he had a
Because of
fun
one
playoff
game.
game.
I'm just kidding. He looked. That was an amazing playoff.
It was fun. It was really cool. But who was he even a drafted quarterback? I mean, it's just not that matters. You know, we know that does not matter, and those stories do happen, but not at quarterback and not very often. So I think you got to add some competition to that locker room, and I would hate to see them use a draft pick for it.
I wouldn't mind Tyrod. I really wouldn't on the Patriots. I think he's exactly what we wanted from Cam this year, in my opinion. Like he's a mobile. He can run the
more
yard.
accurate than Cam.
He's more accurate. Yep.
I'm accurate.
All due respect to Tyrod Taylor, I want the Patriots to set their sights a little bit higher than Tyrod Taylor because
Yeah.
It feels like
we all want that.
It feels like Cam Javu over here because it's like, look, we tried the Cam Newton, you know, it didn't work. It was a fun experiment. I don't want to go through another season of that. I want a proven guy. I like the system, the Brady system, the pocket passer. I want someone like a Wentz, like a Stafford, someone who can throw the ball downfield. I like Tyrod a lot. Maybe, like you said, Luke, we get the next franchise guy if he comes to the team. So maybe we sign him as a backup. But I would like to also bring someone else. I mean, I think the Patriots should blow up the quarterbacks anyway. So
Tyrod's only started 3 years in his NFL career. They were all with the Bills. He was 20-6 touchdown interception ratio, 17-6, and 14-4. Those are very, very good numbers.
All right, easy with very, very good. He kept his interceptions down,
Exactly.
but still wasn't scoring the football.
He was in a
Didn't he on
trash.
the Bills? Didn't he start with the Bills?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yeah,
the Bills.
The Bills. That Bills offense was trash.
yeah. I mean, listen. I think he deserves an opportunity somewhere. I don't want him on the Patriots, but I think he deserves an opportunity somewhere for sure.
You guys are all wrong. Get off my screen. Get off my screen.
We all
Let's
know he'll
move
be
on.
the Vikings.
Guys, let's move on to something that has irked me for 10 years since I really had an opinion on pro sports, or a strong opinion. The Major League Baseball Hall of Fame. All right. All of a sudden, over the last really 10 years, it's become the Baseball Hall of Stats. And it absolutely disgusts me. It becomes to the point where you got guys like Craig Biggio playing every last game that they can walk for just to surpass certain numbers that qualify you for the Hall of Fame. And I'm sorry, at what point did it become the Hall of Stats? Because when you look at it, it's everything they talk about. Oh, you're going to have this number. You're going to have this number. You're going to have this number. Well, screw you and your Hall of Stats. Because when we talk about fame, there's a couple of things that I look at. Are you going to remember Craig Biggio in 50 years from now, guys, as a baseball fan? Are you going to remember the name Craig Biggio or Manny Ramirez more?
Yeah,
Manny.
but we're biased.
Okay, sorry. Let me give you someone else. Are you going to remember Sammy Sosa or Craig Biggio?
Yeah, Sosa.
Sammy.
Okay.
I already forgot Craig Biggio. It's been 10 years.
Exactly. So Craig Biggio played 22 seasons just to surpass the 3,000 hits. Now, Craig Biggio was a great player. He is not modern day, but he's our Dustin Pedroia, a grinder, great defensively, a 200 hit guy, but not a huge statistical phenom. Craig Biggio's in the Hall of Fame. Okay. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a list. We got Kurt Schilling, Bonds, Clemens, Scott Rowland, Vizquel, Wagner, Shelton, Sheffield, Ramirez, Sosa, Pettit, and Hunter, who are all on the ballot this year. None of which made the Hall of Fame. All of which, in this year's ballot, no one made the Hall of Fame. Okay, 397 writers, past players, Hall of Famers, 397 people on the panel. 298 people need to vote for you. Kurt Schilling was the highest with 71%. So he was 2% shy. He was 15 votes shy. I want to read a stat from a Hall of Famer, a stat line of a Hall of Famer. And if you guys know who he is, kudos to you. 203 wins, 3.38 ERA, 2,100 strikeouts, 2 Cy Youngs. None of those put him in the top 50 of any of those. Do you know who that person is? He was just inducted 2 years ago.
David Wells?
Pedro?
It is Roy Halladay. Rest in peace, Doc. Okay.
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling finished second in Cy Young 3 times. He's a 3-time champion, 3-time World Series champion, and he's with the MVP. Bloody stock. He helped break the curse of the Bambino. He has the highest strikeout per 9-inning ratio of all time. He has 1,000 more strikeouts than Roy Halladay, and he has 13 more wins than Roy Halladay and three more rings than Roy Halladay. Curt Schilling is being held out for two reasons: his personality and for politics.
Yep.
Okay. After he was done with baseball, he invested in some video game stuff, and he went bankrupt, and his businesses failed. Okay, sorry, he tried making money and it failed. That shouldn't,
he's kind of a shitbag off the field. But that's
but you go back to like the Hall of Stats, Vic, that you were saying. It's not the Hall of Stats. It's the opposite. It's the Hall of Notoriety. Like, are you a good person in our eyes? If you go based
stats and notoriety, yes.
All those guys are in if you go by stats. Like Hall of Fame should be based on performance. It's not who you are.
Bonds, Sosa, and Clemens, they all did the steroids, right? So that makes them sort of shitty off the field. But
so let's get to that.
Wrong in it.
Let's get to that after, Joe. So Curt Schilling, guys, he's been a big Trump supporter. He's a right-wing conservative. And Dan Shaughnessy, who spent years in the locker room with Curt Schilling, seeing the dude naked in a towel, interviewing him, wrote a smear campaign about him being a racist. And we all know, I don't want to get into politics because I'll go down a dark, dark path. If you're a Trump supporter, you're a racist. Well, that's not true because I'm not a racist, but I'm a Trump supporter. Curt Schilling's being painted in this light. Should Curt Schilling, based off of his stats, his career performance, his 3-time World Series champion, 3-time Cy Young runner-up, should he be in the Hall of Fame, guys? Yes or no?
Yes, based on stats, yeah. But the bigger travesty here,
the other guys, though.
I don't want to flip the subject real quick, is Roger Clemens. Roger Clemens.
Hold on. Curt Schilling. Should he be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, I mean,
Kyle.
Both of those guys should.
Postseason numbers alone, right?
Just the no. And okay, 216 wins, 300 is usually the eclipse that you want to pass, right? In pitching, he's 3-time World Series champion as the ace or number 2 behind Randy Johnson. Okay. But he's a 3-time Cy Young runner-up. He has the most strikeouts per 9 innings in history. The bloody sock, the stories behind it. Curt Schilling is a Hall of Famer. Do we all agree that he should be in the Hall of Fame?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move on to the next thing that Joe and Luke, you guys just wanted to bring up. And Kyle, you brought up a man yesterday who I've despised for a long time now, Jose Canseco. Jose Canseco, after being busted, he's the first and only one of the steroid era to actually be busted while playing. He was busted multiple times. He's the one who really created the whole steroid era. He then, and keep in mind, he was a very average baseball player. He was a juice head who could hit the ball 500 feet, one every 40 swings. He would strike out 200 times a year. He is a very average to below average baseball player. He then went and wrote books about all the other guys that did steroids. Roger Clemens, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, and Mark McGwire never once in their career tested positive for steroids. Never once. Okay? Babe Ruth, people have talked about Babe Ruth, that he did steroids back in the days. There's hundreds of guys that are in the Hall of Fames of all sports that will testify that they've done steroids, but they never tested positive. They're already in the hall. They're already,
take anybody from the 1980s in any professional sport. They shouldn't be in the hall.
Based off of that.
So it's ridiculous.
So do you think that a group of guys who are, Roger Clemens is, in my opinion, the best pitcher of all time. Barry Bonds is probably second or third, in my opinion, best player, not even hitter, best player of all time. 10-time Gold Glover, all-time home run leader, all-time single-season home run leader. Should these guys be in the Hall of Fame? Keep in mind, none of them have been charged in court. They were charged with perjury.
Mark McGwire admitted he used steroids.
Of course he did.
But do you think that shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, Joe?
So it's like no, I don't think. I think that he should be, but where my stance is, the people voting, I feel like they're being consistent in this. So, like, for example, Curt Schilling, they're looking at, like Luke said, things on and off, both on and off the field. It's not just the Hall of Stats, right? Curt Schilling into some sketchy shit off the field. The steroids thing, where they admitted it not, where they got charged, it's sketchy shit off the field, and they're staying away from it. That's what it is.
What do you think
should be in there?
Okay.
Because it's sheer talent. Steroids can't make you swing at the pitch, right? Right. That's talent.
Exactly.
You have to be able to do that. I'm just saying, I think they're being consistent saying, listen, all you guys were into some sketchy shit. You're all great players, but like we're going to be consistent and just, leave you out of it. Just like Pete Rose and all that shit. I know Pete Rose is a little bit different, but you know what I'm saying? Like that's what my opinion is.
I 100% side with like leaning towards not putting sketchiness into the Hall of Fame than steroids. Like there should be a clear divide in between like steroid performance and off-field antics or off-field politics. Like if you do anything racial or homophobic or anything in question like that, then your introduction to the Hall of Fame absolutely should be questioned. But if you were one of the greatest players in the history of the game, statistic-wise, award-wise, like how are you not in there even though like, oh yeah, he did steroids, so he hit 700.
And especially now, and we're not talking about modern day, like Nick Markakis. Not that he's a Hall of Famer, but he was having a good stretch of career, and he tested positive twice. That right there, if you were a borderline Hall of Famer, you're out. You tested positive in season with the new strict guidelines. These guidelines never existed. So they only tested for 2 or 3 different types of steroids back in the late 90s, and those guys never tested positive for it. So
Let's face it, it's the agenda of the board as well.
Exactly. And the issue is that these guys try to live on this sanctuary of like baseball's the greatest thing. It's America's pastime. Well, guess what, guys? You're slowly killing the sport. Not having a Hall of Fame induction this year because you don't like that they use steroids or Kurt Schilling's political views or whatever is an absolute joke. And that's why baseball is dying.
Madge from 98.5 gets one of those votes, by the way.
He does.
They didn't even test for steroids in the 90s. The testing was in the 2000s. That's when it blew up. Like everything with the HGH shit blew up in the 2000s. And what you're gonna see is clear bias, like as immediate as next year, because Alex Rodriguez and David Ortiz are on the ballot for the first time, and they are Hall of Famers in my mind, especially Alex Rodriguez. Now, Alex Rodriguez has completely flipped his image from what he was as a player. He's married to Jennifer Lopez. He's an announcer. He's doing podcasts. He is a like social person right now. He's doing
like
TikTok.
a great dude.
He tied himself to Joe Biden with J-Lo this year.
You are going to see him in the Hall of Fame next year as a first-time ballot entry. He will be on the Hall of Fame. He has steroid use. He's I don't know if he's admitted it, but he's something like he is part of the steroid era. He's part of the steroid controversy. He is going to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, when that happens, no one's going to talk about all the other people. They're going to talk about how great Alex Rodriguez is, how powerful of a hitter he is, how he was one of the most feared hitters in the game. It's going to be complete bias. And then what you're going to see 10 years down the line or whatever, 30 years down the line is anyone who tested positive this year, who is a good person, who has the right stats, is going to be immediately forgiven for any immediate like steroid use they had recently within the 2015 to 2025s.
So just let's like recap the steroid era a little bit. Bonds, Clemens, McGuire, Sosa, and Pettit are the 5 guys that I put them all in the Hall of Fame personally.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that all 5, based off statistic and merit, like just talk on the field, are they Hall of Famers?
I think Pettit and Sosa are. I think those are in question. In my mind,
609 home runs. I mean, that's what, top 10 probably.
Okay, yeah. So you're right. Sosa's in there, but I think Pettit's on the fence for me. But to restrict Barry Bonds, who was the most feared hitter in the history of baseball, and if you think that steroids completely contributed to that, you're out of your fucking mind.
Exactly.
Like,
so
it doesn't make you a fucking cyborg. Like he hit the baseball. He might have had a little more oomph behind it, but he fucking hit the baseball. He was the most intentionally walked player I've ever seen in my life.
When he was skinny Barry with like the Pirates, he was a 50-50 guy. 50 home runs, 50 doubles, 50 stolen bases. 50-50-50. He was a 10-time Gold Glover in the outfield. So he wasn't just a home run hitter. We remember him for like the 01, or I think it was 01, the race when he hit 73. We remember him for that. Yes, he was using steroids. He went from skinny Barry stealing 50 bases to jacking 70 home runs. We get 100%. That. We all understand that. But it never made him a baseball player. Because here's the thing. I played baseball. Okay, I didn't play Division I baseball. I'm not an elite athlete by any means. I can hit 85 to 88. I always could. Steroids wouldn't have made me be able to hit 91, 92. It wouldn't have. Okay? And that's exactly what you said, Luke. Steroids might make you recover faster, might make you a little stronger, a little more oomph on the ball, but it does not make you the elite athlete that you already are. Now, football is a different conversation as far as strength and power, things like that. But as far as baseball, I think the biggest aspect is recovery, it doesn't have a major impact on your skill set. Kyle, do you put all 5 of those steroid guys in the Hall of Fame? Hold on, just a reminder, because Luke said no to Andy Pettit or question it. The 5-time World Series champion, 256 wins, 2,500 strikeouts. He has more wins than Schilling.
Better than Kurt Schilling.
Huh?
I mean, better than Kurt Schilling by far.
Yeah,
Statistically.
Pettit was the only one I was iffy on. I'd probably have to say yes. The problem with baseball, you have to just acknowledge that the steroid era happened, and you just have to that goes in the history books. But like you said, anyone who's been in like a batting cage, put that machine on 95 and tell me if you can fucking hit that. And then
come back in 6 months after using steroids. Can you hit it?
Yeah.
No.
Right.
So, but here's the thing. I agree with everything you're saying. Those guys should be in. But the bottom line is, as long as that whoever's on that board is on it, they're going to vote the way that they vote. It's not the steroids. This is what baseball says is right, and we're the guys voting. So you need to be right. And Luke, you said that next year it changes with A-Rod. And as much as I want that to happen because A-Rod should be in the Hall of Fame, it's like, well, if it didn't change with Manny, if it didn't change with Roger Clemens, it didn't, like big guys like that, it's like, well, when the hell is it going to change? Like, who is the defining point?
They're still in controversy. Manny Ramirez and Roger Clemens are still surrounded in controversy. Like, they haven't readjusted their image. They're still they're out of the people's minds.
A little bit, Luke. So
I see what you're saying.
So Clemens says MLB Network now, and he's phenomenal on it. I mean, he's very good. He's a good-looking guy. I think he's great with it. Manny Ramirez is one I just wanted to confirm. So Manny Ramirez, by many experts, will say he's the best right-handed hitter to ever play the game. His .312 career average, .555 in home runs, 2,500 hits. He's a 2-time World Series champion. He's at the MVP, World Series MVP, 9-time Silver Slugger Award. Manny Ramirez tested positive in 2009 and 2011. I believe those were with the Dodgers.
The Dodgers, yeah.
After the Red Sox, when he was a borderline MVP, every year he played for us. 2-time World Series champion with us, in which he led the team, him and Ortiz, obviously. I mean, he's one that's questionable because it goes back to my old point. He did test positive in his career. But it's so hard because his career of 96 to 2007, that's when he was Manny Ramirez, the Indians and the Red Sox. With the Dodgers, he was like hitting 6 for them. And it was really him hanging on to his career. And
our thought process is completely different. It's like from the board to us or whatever who is that votes. Like we, and I believe, think the right way. The board treats it as a court of law. Luke, you said A-Rod turned his shit around. A-Rod's awesome. I like him. But I still think they're going to sit at that table and say, well, he did this. This was this, or he was part of it.
That's what I want to watch, is what happens next year.
Yeah, because he did test positive. He actually physically tested positive when he was playing with the Yankees. So
but he is that big one that has really turned his image on. Because I do like A-Rod, and I used to fucking hate him.
Yeah. He's a good dude.
It's going to be driven by image and the social aspect. It's not Hall of Stats. It's Hall of who are you at the current status in people's minds.
It's 2 different parts, Luke, because the elite athletes, it's for the elite athletes, and I'm going to bring up my next point in group of people, the elite athletes like the Bonds, Clemens, whatever, that comes down to their depiction of character, right? But on the other end, in the number one name that sticks out to me is Gary Sheffield. I will always remember the name Gary Sheffield. Now, other guys that didn't make it, Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, Omar Vizquel, Scott Rowland, those aren't guys I'll always remember. But guys like that fall into the Craig Biggio category. Well, if you had 3,000 hits, maybe we'd talk. Oh, so if I played 4 more years hitting 200 and got 98 hits a year, you'd put me in the Hall? Like, come on. Like, it's just, that's what Craig Biggio did to get into the Hall of Fame. He played, I think, 22 seasons, in which the last few were a joke. So
that's a feat still. I still think that's a feat. Like, if you play 22 years in a professional sport, you hit your mark. Like, that's a remembrance. You deserve to be part of it, in my opinion.
Ichiro will be in, right?
Oh, Ichiro's a Hall of Famer. I mean, he's a first ballot. He should be 100%.
But he's not a home run hitter. He has
4,500 career hits.
So Vic, are you saying that Gary Sheffield should be in or not? I wasn't sure on that.
So Gary Sheffield's career stats: 292 hitter, 2,700 RBIs, which probably puts him in the top 25, and 509 home runs. So he surpassed the 500 clip, which is usually the breaking point. 290 is phenomenal over your career, and then he has 2 rings with the Yankees. Maybe it's 1. But Gary Sheffield is one of the best right-handed hitters to play as well. And I look at it as the merit thing. I will always remember the name Gary Sheffield.
Yeah, but we're biased, and we're very biased because he was on a Yankee, like in my opinion. Well, in my opinion.
But I remember him from the Braves. He was on the great Braves teams with Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux. He was the best hitter for that Braves team. Okay. So there's some guys where it comes down to the merit and the personality off the field. And some guys that come down to, well, did you reach a certain statistical plateau? I just don't know. So let's bring up someone who's a little younger with no off the field stuff. Torrey Hunter, I think this might have been his first or second year on the ballot. He only got 10% of the votes, meaning he got 35 votes. 9-time Gold Glover, 2,400 hits, all around one of the great human beings in baseball. He got stuck with the Twins that could never really get past the Red Sox and the Yankees, even in their best. Is Torrey Hunter Hall of Famer, guys?
Yep.
I think so.
He's just young right now. That's why he's low. It'll get up. He'll get up there.
Here's what I'm going to remember about Torrey Hunter is that picture of him going into the Fenway stands of that David Ortiz grand slam that in the ALCS with the cop in his hands up. That's how I'm going to remember Torrey Hunter. I don't remember him for his he didn't do enough. He's a good enough player, or he's a good player. Excuse me. He had a good career. He's not a Hall of Famer in my mind.
Yeah, he's right on the cusp. I'm interested to see how that one plays out. I'm iffy. I mean, for me personally, the list I gave you guys, I have Schilling, Bonds, Clemens, Sheffield, Ramirez, Sosa, and Pettit. All 100% should be Hall of Famers. Sadly, I don't think any of them will be. And I think that's a shame on the Hall of Fame for not having someone to announce this year. I think 2021 needs more excitement. I think it needs some fun. Baseball is dying, and the fact that you're not going to have a Hall of Fame induction. I mean, the tears for Roy Halladay, the tears for Ken Griffey, Pedro Martinez. I mean, those are huge historical moments when you see those guys make it. And I mean, there's names on here Alan Trammell, who, Harold Baines, who, Lee Smith. I mean, guys, it's a tragedy. Larry Walker is not a Hall of Famer to me, and they got him in by 1.5%. It's the Baseball Hall of Fame is a joke to me.
It's flawed. It is. It's completely flawed. We see that it's the same thing with I know we're bringing politics into it again, but you have these old rules and these ancient wisdoms that are making decisions based on just archaic thought processes. It's new times. You need to change the
baseball purist. Come on.
Nothing's pure anymore. Times change. You're ridiculous if you think that these
Mookie Betts isn't going across seas to fight in the war for us. I'm sorry. There's no more Ted Williams. There's no more heroes in baseball. They're athletes, and they're giving you, their life's work, and they're dedicated to the sport.
And you're ripping it. You're ripping everything they worked for from their chest. You're taking that off their chest.
And you're ripping it away from the youth and the excitement of baseball. And I hate to see it. Guys, if you don't have anything else, I'd love to get your bet of the week. We guarantee you guys a bet of the week every week. I got mine. Sorry, go ahead, Kyle.
Sorry, I got one final thing to say. Luke, I'm glad you brought that up because I think baseball's biggest problem, they fail to adapt. They will not adapt. Look at hockey, dude. They turned into 3-on-3 overtime, and we love that's one of the best things that hockey's ever done. It's baseball is just like you said, Luke. It's ancient wisdoms, and it's we can't change. We have to do 162 games, and it's got to be 9 innings. It's well, no one's watching your sport. And now you're not inducting anyone, and there's a fine line because it's if none of these guys are getting in, then no one's getting in. So then it's what are we doing here? Or you're letting in a bunch of guys that are good guys that don't have the stats. And if you said, Luke, if it's based off of if you're a good person. So then it's you get into
they're only fooling themselves in that room. You can walk around knowing they're not in the Hall of Fame, but we all know they're there.
It kind of reminds me of the Constitution. I'm not gonna talk on my ass here, but if sometimes we go back to the Constitution. I'm okay, well this was written in 1776. Maybe we shouldn't read it word for word. Maybe this needs to be updated.
Let's move on before we turn into a political
Yeah, don't get me jumping out of my seat.
Yeah,
All right,
seriously.
guys, we did our bet of the week. We guarantee one for you guys every week. For me, I got the Rockets Pelicans tonight. It's going over 223. The Rockets are getting healthy. They got Daniel House coming back. The Pelicans just score a ton of points. They can't play defense, but they score a ton of points. That over should be a lock. I got Rockets Pelicans over 223. Hammer it, boys.
Nice. I got Bucks. I think they're +7 right now against Charlotte Hornets. I'm going Bucks. They got blown out last night. They're coming back. They're going to destroy the Hornets.
You
So
mean
you're
minus
talking
7?
football
Minus
for a
7.
minute.
-7. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, I like that one.
I got
Anyway.
one. I got Bruins +5.5 over the Caps. So wait, is it under 5.5? No, over 5.5 over the Caps and winning 5-2. Winning a shootout 5-3.
Okay.
Wow. All right.
For me,
Kyle?
I'm going to go with I guess it's an upset, although the Bulls pretty impressed me the other night when they played with the Celtics. The Bulls right now are 2.5 favorites at home against the Trailblazers. I think the Bulls are going to cover that. I think they're going to get it done.
They're
like
minus 2.5 right now.
Favorites?
Yeah, so they're actually favored at home over they're 7-10, Blazers are 9-8, so it's relatively simple. But the Blazers, I think we all thought were going to kind of go up, and now they're like a 500 team. And
Yeah, they're definitely missing CJ McCollum, that's for sure.
Yeah,
And
Nurkic too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are favored 2.5. I mean, let's see. Robert Covington is out, Derek Jones is out, Wendell Carter is out for the Bulls. So yeah, I mean, the Trailblazers again are just running thin. They got no depth, and it's terrible because they built a great roster for this year. They can't stay healthy. Guys,
Yeah.
hey, I appreciate all of your time. Of course, our Chasing Rings listeners, we got Road to 55 NFL playoff stuff. We got Tommy Points coming up. We got Black and Gold with hockey. Make sure you guys listen, subscribe, and enjoy all of those. We appreciate you guys. Peace.